Hi guys, it's Sandy with Crafty Stamp Co. and I am back today with another project from the July 2026 Crafty Crew Kit. This card is using the Flutterbys and Blooms stamp set. Now, the cost on this kit for non-subscriptions is $48.02 plus shipping. That does reflect a 15% discount off the regular retail prices. Bi-monthly subscribers get a 25% off the retail prices. It will include an embellishment, and you will also get a 10% discount for non-subscription orders, and that will be $42.36. Now, the ordering window for this kit is July 1st through the 15th, and the shipping date will be July 5th. All right, let's get started. Now, in this kit, they have these new crafty color recipes, and these are just fantastic. They give you the color recipes or the color blends for the little projects as they've got it colored in. So I decided I would go ahead and use the same color combinations as on the recipe. So I have already stamped out my little friends and colored them. I stamped out 2 or 3 of each one. I usually do that so I have extras for future projects. All right, that being said, let's get those cut out and move along. Now there are some beautiful pattern papers in this kit, but I decided I wanted to go ahead and create my own background. So I will be using the Daisy stencil along with some shaded lilac distress oxide ink. I'm going to go ahead and get that placed down on my little sticky mat here, get my stencil placed down, and then I'm just going to start blending in my ink over those little daisies. Now I did find that once I had those stenciled, I felt like the white was just a bit too bright. So I went back in with an almost dry brush and just kind of went over all of those daisies and just kind of brought a little bit of warmth to that piece of paper. I'm going to use a couple of dies from my stash to cut this out. I wanted to cut out an oval in the center of it and then just have a solid background. But I decided that really wasn't the look I was going for. So I got my paper out again, I got my ink out again, I got my stencil out again, and I inked up another piece of paper in a complementary color, and I like the way that turned out. Now I have a base for the front of my card cut at 5.5 by 4.25. It's just a light brown cardstock. And I'll go ahead and get these 2 pattern papers glued onto that, and we will move on to the fun part. I have a scrap from another piece of pattern paper that I created using the same stencil, and I'm going to go ahead and just use a sentiment from that stamp set to stamp that out, and I am just using Memento ink. I've got my sentiment trimmed out with some cardstock, and now I want to arrange the flowers behind that sentiment piece. And since there's only 2 different sprays in the stamp set, what I'll go ahead and do is just kind of clip them as I want them and then just arrange it behind where I will have that sentiment piece going. Now I like to add dimension to all of my cards. I think it's just a really nice touch and it just kind of levels them up a little bit. So I'm going to take some foam squares and apply it to the back of my sentiment piece along with my butterflies. I did leave my flowers flat against my card base. I'm going to use a little bit of liquid glue on top of those little foam pieces. And what that does, it's not really so much to help it adhere. Well, it kind of is, but it gives me a little bit of a barrier between that adhesive and my card base. So I can kind of mess around and kind of fudge those pieces where I want them before they're permanently stuck. So I am going to get my 5 little butterflies arranged here along with my sentiment. and then we're going to move on. In addition to popping up some of my design elements, I also like to add a little bit of bling. So I'm just going to use some little embellishments here and just kind of randomly put them around my little oval and get those glued on. To finish up this card, I'm going to apply it to a card base. So I've got a piece of card stock cut to 5.5 by 8.5, and I will score that at 4.25 and fold it in half. Now on the inside of my card, I have got just a blank piece of cardstock cut to 4 inches by 5.25, and I'm just going to glue that onto the inside of my card. I do that even though I don't have a sentiment on my my little piece of paper. And the reason I do that is there's always so much going on layer-wise on the front of the card that I always feel like the inside or the back side of the card just feels a little bit flimsy. So this is just one way to kind of beef it up and just what I would call plus it up just a little bit. And that completes my card. I just think it turned out so colorful and so cheery. I just love it. It's such a cute stamp set. All right, don't forget your ordering window is open from June 1st through June 15th. The shipping date is July 5th. Thank you so much for stopping by and spending a little bit of time with me today. Go ahead and give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. You can also follow me on Instagram at Sandy Cogdell or on my blog, Sandy Cogdell Designs. All right, until next time, bye-bye.